Every civilization has its foundation. For some it was stone, for others bronze or iron. But for humanity as a whole, the foundation wasn't metal or even fire, it was bread. Or think about it, a simple mixture of crushed grain, water, and heat. That's all it took to transform survival into stability. Bread turned scattered hunter-gatherers into farmers, villages into cities, and hungry crowds into armies. It fueled empires, sparked revolutions, and became so sacred that it wove itself into religion and tradition. And yet today, bread feels almost invisible. We pick it off supermarket shelves, toss it into toasters, or let it go stale on the counter without a second thought. But behind every loaf lies 10,000 years of human history. So how did bread, something so ordinary, become humanity's first true staple? Today, we are going to uncover the story of bread, from its accidental discovery in the ancient world, to its power in shaping empires, to its modern role in science, culture, and even politics. By the end of this journey, you may never look at a simple slice of bread the same way again. Let's rewind to about 12,000 years ago. The Ice Age is ending. Humans are settling down in fertile regions like the Fertile Crescent, where wild grains grow in abundance. Archaeologists in Jordan discovered something remarkable: charred crumbs, the world's oldest known bread, baked nearly 4,000 years before agriculture, as we know it, began. This discovery suggests something profound. Perhaps we didn't start farming wheat just to eat porridge or gruel. Maybe we started farming because of bread. The promise of this new food, portable, filling, and delicious, could have driven humans to cultivate grains deliberately. In other words, bread may have given birth to agriculture itself. Picture those first bakers, crushing wild einkorn wheat between stones, mixing it with water, and dropping it onto hot ash or stone near a fire. The result? Flat, charred, but revolutionary. Bread was born, not in a fancy oven, but in a campfire. Fast forward a few thousand years to ancient Egypt, where bread was everywhere. The Egyptians perfected the art of baking with dozens of varieties, flatbreads, honeybreads, and the earliest leavened loaves. Bread wasn't just food, it was currency. Pyramid workers were paid in daily rations of bread and beer. For the Egyptians, bread was life itself. In Mesopotamia, clay ovens baked loaves for city dwellers. In Greece, bread became a symbol of culture and refinement. And in Rome, the empire of empires, bread was so politically important that emperors promised panem et circenses, or bread and circuses, to keep the people satisfied. In Rome, bakeries were massive operations, capable of feeding thousands daily. Bread kept armies marching and citizens loyal. Without bread, these civilizations would not have functioned. It was the backbone of economies, the wages of workers, and the measure of prosperity. But bread isn't only about survival and politics, it also became sacred. In nearly every culture, bread holds spiritual meaning. In Christianity, bread represents the body of Christ given during the Eucharist. In Judaism, challah bread sanctifies the Sabbath, and matzah recalls the Exodus. In Islam, bread is considered a gift from God. Wasting it is almost unthinkable. In Hindu traditions, bread-like foods, such as roti, are part of daily offerings. Bread's symbolism is powerful because it embodies nourishment itself. To break bread with someone is to share trust, unity, and community. From ancient rituals to family dinners today, bread continues to connect us in both body and spirit. Now let's talk about the darker side of bread. Because when bread runs out, history shows us people rise up. Take France, 1789. For years, bread prices skyrocketed while harvests failed. The common people, who relied on bread for 70% of their calories, were starving. Crowds demanded bread. Their hunger helped ignite the French Revolution, toppling a monarchy and changing history. Or look at Russia, 1917. Bread shortages and long lines pushed people into the streets, sparking protests that would lead to the Russian Revolution. Again, bread, or rather the lack of it, became the tipping point of an empire. Throughout history, when bread disappeared, stability collapsed. It wasn't gold or oil that determined survival, it was this humble staple. Beyond history, bread is also science in its most delicious form. Take yeast, for example. Tiny living organisms that consume sugars in dough, releasing carbon dioxide and alcohol. The gas gets trapped in gluten, the protein in wheat, and the dough rises. Suddenly, you don't just have flat grain cakes, you have fluffy, airy bread. Different cultures mastered this differently. Sourdough, with its wild yeasts and bacteria, became a staple in Europe and beyond. In the Middle East, pita puffs into hollow pockets. In India, naan is baked in fiery clay ovens. In Mexico, tortillas tell a story of maize, not wheat. Each bread is both a science experiment and a cultural fingerprint. Bread is chemistry, biology, and physics, all working together to feed humanity. Today, bread is everywhere, but it's also changing. The Industrial Revolution gave us cheap, mass-produced, white bread, soft and uniform, but often stripped of nutrients. For much of the 20th century, this was the bread of the modern world. Now bread is making a comeback in new forms. Artisanal sourdoughs are trendy, reviving ancient methods. Gluten-free and grain-free breads reflect new health trends. And at the same time, bread remains political, with debates about food security, nutrition, and even climate change affecting how we grow and bake it. One thing hasn't changed: bread continues to evolve with us. From ancient ashes to modern ovens, bread remains our companion through time. So what does it all mean? Bread isn't just food, it's civilization on a plate. It's revolutions, religions, science, and survival, all baked into something we take for granted every day. The next time you bite into a crusty loaf or tear apart a soft bun, remember, you're tasting 10,000 years of human history. You're eating the very thing that turned us from wanderers into builders, from tribes into nations. And let's be honest, bread may not be flashy, but it's done more for humanity than most kings or inventions ever did. Without bread, there might not be us. So, if this story gave you food for thought, don't loaf around. Hit that like button, subscribe, and rise with us for more deep dives into the hidden history of everyday things. Who knows? Our next video might just butter your curiosity even more. Because bread may have been humanity's first staple, but knowledge? That's the feast we're baking together.